Pourquoi ça c'est important nous cause l'eau là? Moi depuis les ça arrivé, moi pas les cause l'eau là. Ça fait liberté la presse. Côte Cécile, une sortie 37, il arrive 48e, ça veut dire 8. Une descend 8 places plus bas. Now, là, nous pouvons regarder tout ça qui nous entendait. Personne de l'administration LDS pas capable de dire nous qui n'arrive si vous êtes d'accord, si vous n'êtes pas d'accord, ça décline qui n'arrive. Nous ne pouvons pas personne là. Nous donnons la liberté de la presse, nous donnons secrétaire général parti LDS. Mais comment est l'État? L'État dit cesser. LDS laisse l'île. LDS, il y a un parti politique. Cesser, in decline, 8 positions. Sorti 37 pour 45. Pour qui raison? Mon quoi, média qui mérite faire un programme là. Et là, asile, membre public, tout dans ses mains. Par contre, l'opinion publique là dehors. Mais là, nous regardons, il y a un nombre de médias internationaux qui est intéressé avec ces bonnes affaires. Je trouve de l'information. Pareil, Focus on Africa. Il y a beaucoup de questions. Bandimoun qui est responsable de l'association média. Il demande même vice-président AFIF position l'administration. Vice-président AFIF dit Seychelles remain committed to openness, free and fair reporting. Il dit no control on media houses. Les mon écoute ça pour qui Focus Africa dit, qui vice-président dit no control on media houses. Qui quantité la vérité il y en a là-dedans? Nous demandons qui quantité la vérité à cause nous connaissons pas la vérité. À cause si tu as la vérité, no control on media houses, mais qui me dit si c'est une sortie 37 et 45? Ça veut dire, bon media houses, tu peux faire ce travail bien. Nous avons 37, nous avons quotidien 30, 28, 29. Mais c'est une décline. For sure. Il y en a l'argument qui en a 7 et puis travail pour bon médecin, c'est pas c'est pas quoi. Mais le président déjà dit, pour dire à un journaliste SBC qui veut travailler pour savoir les autres, là, ça à l'étranger, SBC, tu fais sortir, communiquer, tu dis non. Président, pas vrai, ça qui peut dire. Mais non, si nous ne pas quoi, ça qui vice-président dit. Parce que, nous disons, pour ne pas sortir, tu connais. Et nous connaissons, il y a fait tout ça, les temps là. Il sort avec majorité quelque chose qui l'a là, on peut mettre sa nation. Mais la situation, pour lui, dans nous carrés, Gaulle entre avec nous. Il peut se défendre pour dire Gaulle pas d'entrée. Gaulle d'entrée, sorti 37 ou 45. Nous avons un problème dans le pays. Côté concerne, bon reportage, bon coverage, ça M. Mounier qui n'est allé là. Moi-même, mon cause là, ça M. Mon interacté avec lui, il donne mon bout qui lui, il devrait être dans moi, et mon demande des questions, mon capable de cliquer sur quelque chose dans mon vidéo. Tout des qui zot une fait ça, M. aller, mais déjà une demande zot pour faire commentaire, c'est ce que vous avez dit, tout des pas encore faire commentaire. À cause, si vraiment, ça l'administration n'a pas contrôle, les media houses. Ça, M. continue à aller, il dit, pour dire, président, il dit avec journal tout, des managing director, il n'est pas content de ce qu'il rapporte, c'est quelque chose qu'il rapporte. Est-ce qu'il a? Nous capables de dire, pour dire, il y a une openness, free and fair reporting. Nous connaissons, il y a quelque chose qui va assez. Nous, pas quoi, nous, pas connaissons. Mais aujourd'hui, dans ce CCL, il n'y a pas quoi dans l'IS du tout. À part ça, des gens qui bientôt pour arrêter quoi, autres net au soir. Ça veut dire pas quoi, autres, mais seulement il a pour certaines raisons, à cause d'autres bénéficier. Mais tandis que je ne sais pas. Pas envie de bénéficier, non, rien dit. Mon bénéficier, c'est les gens qui passent pour l'information que c'est elle. Les gens qui peuvent faire CCL, user, c'est quoi? Voir quelque chose de son perspective. Moi, pas envie de là, pour m'envie d'embêter personne, moi. À cause si mon embête ces sélections, ces lois, mon père embête mon école, à cause moi aussi, mon père vivre dans sa société. Moi aussi, mon fais partie de sa population. Mon pas vivre pour moi, aller, moi. Moi, pour rester là, même tout le temps comme si président fort. Mon papa rester à l'étranger, moi. Moi, pour rester là, moi. Par exemple, mon senti dans l'entourage qui m'a envie de vivre là-dedans, c'était l'entourage quand tu m'as envie de vivre. Pas pareil aujourd'hui, quand tu m'as juste fait crier la langue, le 27 septembre, il est pour arriver, pour nous chiller. Ça qui dit mon petit là dans ses mains. Jamais nous tu crois si vous avez quel dia c'est comme ça. Avant tu nous là avec nous, je suis juste venu pour tout quelque chose pour ça. Comment faire comment c'est? This is how we are actually. Et nous pas capables d'assister anymore. Et là n'importe qui quoi qu'ils ont pour venir. Mais il m'a dit c'est droit ça. Comment ça fait quand l'élection commission est tombée là? Pour n'a pas station voter à l'étranger, on dit quelque chose qui fait des nouvelles. Faudrait nous veiller, la liste voter n'a pas ghost, et quel nom. Faudrait nous veiller, c'est ce qu'on appelle là, ça vient de nous, après pour nous voter. Faudrait là nous marquer DS, type marking, man to man. Pas dans aucun l'espace, à cause nous pas encore fini. Ça, ici c'est un bout. Un nous au contraire, à force nous vigilance, on nous marque autres main to main, pas les autres gagnent l'espace pour les autres jouer, à cause dernier bout, il est plus difficile. Il faudrait nous continuer avec l'intensité. Il faudrait nous continuer si pour notre camarade, nous qui dans l'opposition, et un petit monde qui peut décider de quitter LDS. On nous quitte, nous consistency, on nous focus. LDS, un message qui Jerry Sofa, il y en a pour les autres personnellement. Zot peut aller. Zot pas là. Faire ça qui zot tous les. C'est Céline paré pour mettre zot dehors. Zot pour rendre nous pas que la clé. Zot pour rendre nous ban l'auto. Zot pour rendre nous state house. Zot pour rendre nous pays. Nous pour Chili.
Hello, I'm Charles Gitonga, and here's what's coming up for you on this edition of Focus on Africa. Once seen as a bastion of democracy, why is Seychelles dropping in the World Press Freedom Rankings? It's Monday, the 5th of May. We begin with some troubling news about the state of press freedom across Africa. The latest World Press Freedom Index paints a worrying picture, with Uganda, Ethiopia, and Rwanda ranked near the bottom due to the increasingly difficult conditions facing journalists in those countries. But it's not all bleak. There are some bright spots too. South Africa, Namibia, Cape Verde, and Gabon are among the highest-ranked African nations for media freedom. Now, let's zoom in on one country that has traditionally performed well, the Seychelles. Long seen as a model for press freedom in the region, that reputation is now under scrutiny. According to the global media watchdog, Reporters Without Borders, Seychelles has dropped more than 20 places in the ranking in the past 2 years. Just last month, Vel Munien, an editor at a local publication, was reportedly sacked and forced to leave the country. He sent us this voice note from his home in Mauritius.
So I was sacked for gross misconduct. I was accused of trying to force the journalist to ask for overtime, which is quite laughable. From time to time, I got a call telling me X wasn't happy with a title, Y wasn't happy with a caption, and Z wasn't happy with an article. The government decided not to give adverts. The government decided to boycott the paper, and the management decided to back up the president's claims. because I was asked whether I wanted to stay more. I said yes, and then the MD told me, the president will block your work permit. And I said, how can he do it? For me, what I wanted at the end of the day was to finish that job and go back to Mauritius.
That's Vel Munian giving his version of events. Joanna Nisset is the vice chair of the Association for Media Practitioners in the Seychelles. She has been closely following the state of media freedom in the country.
Right now, there is quite a lot of uncertainty, especially in relation to what recently happened with the former editor of Today in Seychelles. It has created a bit of worry for local journalists as nobody's really sure of what would happen next and what could happen to any one of us.
Would you say that, there's a decline in press freedom in the Seychelles?
I'll just cite a couple of events that happened over the last 12 months, and then I'll probably leave it to the audience to just decide for themselves. Last year, a journalist had his phone confiscated when he took photographs of a silent protest taking place outside the police headquarters. And then there's the editor of Independent newspaper. He had taken some photographs at the airport and all that. He was arrested at his house, taken to court and whatever, slept overnight in a cell and told that he had broken laws. And so we went with him to court. We were there. Eventually, the charges were dismissed as frivolous. And then later on in the year, when he was going to Mauritius to interview Mr. Béranger, just prior to the elections or just after, I'm not really quite sure on my dates there, and he got accosted at the airport again, confiscated his phone, and he missed his flight on that day. In some press conferences, journalists were outrightly bullied, right? Then we've had the Vel Munian deportation that happened last week. So I would say it's a lot harder than it was before. Even when we compare to the years when we supposedly did not have any freedom. My worst experience was probably in 2020, was that President Rene died. I went there to cover the funeral, and the whole political party, they intimidated me, tried to stop me from doing my work, and the police pushed me out of the stadium. We expected things to be better.
Except things don't seem to have gotten better despite President Wavo Ramkalawan decriminalizing defamation in his first year of office when he became president in 2020. But at the time when he did it, many saw it as a big win for press freedom in the country.
And that was like a huge plus for media freedom. Journalists could work without having the worry of all these millions being asked of us. You see? So that's when our ranking shot up. But then it's gone back down now, so it's sliding. It's not what everybody thinks it is.
Now back to Vel Munian, who says growing political interference is a key concern in Seychelles. He says relations between the government and the media have worsened in recent years.
Since day one, I was accused of trying to bring down the government, from what the president said to the managing director. So from time to time, she told me that I would be deported. And I said, how can he deport me when I'm not into drugs? From time to time, I was told that the president wasn't happy. A minister called me to insult me on the phone, and I had to send him a letter of excuse because I asked a question in an interview which pertained to the driver of the minister. So the minister wasn't happy. Some journalists told me in Seychelles, you have to be selective in the way you do your news.
So, Joanna, let me ask you, what do you think is happening in the country that you can say is the reason why journalists are not able to do their work?
You are doing your work still, but it's harder to do it than before. There is an election, both for the presidency and for the National Assembly. And to all intents and purposes, it's going to be a very, very tight race, or would actually become a landslide for the opposition. So I think it's the elections that are putting pressure on everything. I mean, we get accused by the opposition of always being pro-government, and the government accuses us of always being pro-opposition. Both sides keep hitting on the media for anything and everything. And then you have a press conference when the president will actually tell you, you've gone too far. with a question. The journalist asked the president a question, he goes, "You've gone too far now." He probably doesn't realize the impact of what he said, especially the younger journalists. They feel, I better shut up. I might lose my job.
So when the president tells a journalist, like you're saying, that you've gone too far during a questioning session, do you feel that somehow sends a message to the authorities, to the people that work under the president, that they are somehow to do something about the comments of the president?
You find it's harder to get ministries to cooperate with you on issues unless they have asked you to come up and cover those things. And then in some cases, some media houses are actually barred from certain activities. Like the presidential press conference, the independent newspaper is barred from there. When this happens from the highest level of the state, obviously others will follow suit.
Right. Tell me about the reaction you get from authorities whenever there's criticism around media freedom or media rights seem to be on the decline, or all these incidences that you quoted for us at the beginning of the interview. How do they respond when these issues
Our
come
government does not take kindly to criticism. There is a chairman of our association. He was also presenter on a television program, set up a lot of controversial opinions because the government wasn't happy with that program at all. They made it known. Again, like, "You've gone too far." That program also was attacked publicly. He was insulted. He was bullied. So we took to the street. We held a silent protest in town. And the next thing, we are called up at State House. And we are told, "We gave you press freedom." No. So this is what you get whenever you try to take them on. You are not supposed to rock any boats.
So before I let you go, what do you think needs to happen to protect press freedoms in the Seychelles? There have been incidences before where, perhaps the government has said that, they would be, committed to protect it. But what needs to be happening? Because clearly from what you're describing for us, there are problems that need to be solved.
When the president called the association to sit out, we had a big talk. I mean, we met with them twice. But then it's all talk and nothing happens, right? So it needs everybody to come on board. All stakeholders, media houses, government, private sector, everyone to grips and realize that we do not live in a vacuum. We form part of a global village. What happens here echoes worldwide. It is sad to say today that in 2020, when President Faure was around, we had the most freedom. We could stand up in a press conference and question him about anything and everything. He might not answer, but there was no repercussion. So we all need to sit down and find common ground and realize that journalists are there to report on the news, not to be part of the news. There is no perfect person, no perfect system, no perfect government, just as there is nobody that is totally bad. So unless the people have to understand that when we report, we have to report as it is. Social media is used as a means to intimidate journalists a lot, especially through the use of fake profiles.
Many thanks to Joanna Nisset, Vice Chair of the Association of Media Practitioners. We contacted the authorities in the Seychelles regarding the allegations. The country's Vice President, Ahmed Afif, responded in a statement saying,
Seychelles remains committed to openness and free and fair reporting with responsibility at all levels. I must say that in my view, this does not represent the reality of press freedom in Seychelles except for the views of a small group of people who are in contact with Reporters Without Frontiers, and this ranking does not represent our true situation today, where people more than ever before are free to voice themselves freely without fear. There is no control on media houses, including state-funded media houses.
A statement from Seychelles Vice President Ahmed Afif.
When they are seeking our support, they are humility personified. They kiss babies. They go to the shebeen. They drink from dirty cups. They walk on foot. They smile with us. They take photos with everybody. They discard their security. They are humility personified. They speak the language that we want to hear. They do the things that they think we want to see them do. They delude us. They cheat us. And somehow we accept that they are leaders. But immediately they get what they want. Oh, they have a reverse Pauline conversion. If they were Paul, they go back to being Sauls. And we can no longer recognize them. When you ring them, their phones are picked by somebody called a PA, whose only claim to fame that he is rude beyond measure. When you go to the offices, they no longer want to see you. When they are driving in the streets, their sirens scare you. While I suspect that those who discovered the siren meant that it should be used for good purposes, for them it is a badge of honor, and they harass us in the streets. They acquire things which they have not worked for. They want to be described as honorable even when they are horrible. These are the men that we have.
Mon mazinou, mon bassou, mon vie retourne kotou, mon vie wa ban solifleur, ban fille qui casse les quais, visite montagne trois frères, expire l'odeur naturelle, mon vie al bol en mer, prend ben mer et mon ban frère, moi un petit la des frères. Écoute dans son live.